So what I want to do today is give you some updates on generative AI and also give you all of the material so that you can present it and talk about it yourselves. So if you're a platform owner or you're somebody that needs to communicate in your organization, you should get a lot of good ideas out of here and good content as well. At the end, I'm going to open up for a little roundtable. I'm going to kick around something that I've been working on. It's a little bit more technical, but it's about the throughput of a transaction. So when we switch gears and we come off the AI stuff, if you're not interested in that full technical path of a transaction through ServiceNow, then you might want to drop off. But I'm going to ask some opinions. I don't know if everybody's aware of not, but there's about 15 or 20 different rules engines a transaction goes through when you submit something from a form in ServiceNow. So I wanted to set up a little demonstration and maybe a topic on that going forward, but I wanted to get some opinions on it before I start building out any material. Okay, let me admit these last few people. And so let's go ahead and get started. I always do a little bit of an intro in the beginning for those of you that haven't been here before. Out on the forum, you'll see I have this Zoom registration, which I imagine that most of you found because that was the only way to get in today. Other times what I'll do is I'll have a list of people and I'll send them the invite out with the agenda on it. So sometimes you might see 2 invites on your calendar, and I haven't been able to get around that. You'll see an invite that's from the Zoom registration, another invite that's from me that gives more color on the topics for the day. We have a forum homepage. So the information I'm going to share with you today, along with the video from this recording, will be posted on that forum page. So you can go here and get all the information, plus whatever we do during the meetings, the biweekly meetings. We'll also have this video on a YouTube playlist. And then there's a shared instance that I have that we can get on as well. So I give everybody in this group an admin login to that instance. And we're going to talk about some things that I want to do on there over the next few weeks, specifically with this AI piece. So what we're here for is really to help everybody along the way with their digital transformation. So as people come here, a lot of what they're looking at is how do we use the ServiceNow platform to do that? And we try to share as much as possible. Today, I'm going to share some content with you to help you tell the AI story for the platform a little bit better. Our architecture teams are the hosts for this. I'm one of many architects that come on the call. Over the last few weeks, you heard from a couple of my teammates that brought some others on the call. So last week, Martin spoke, and they talked about value streams. So we do this in biweekly meetings, and it's most of the time the way that we engage are on these biweekly meetings, but sometimes we'll do like a workshop or something special for knowledge. We've done those in the past as well. So the group's been together since 2017, and altogether I have about 1,000 people on the list when I send those invites out. So today, because I did not share the agenda early, if you're not interested in this topic, most people are. It's been a lot of my presentations I've been doing lately and a lot of my customer meetings. AI is the elephant in the room. What are we doing with AI? How do we get there? And I know you guys have been seeing a lot of this, but today what I want to do is, like I said, instead of just going through it, I want to go through and give you the material that you can use. So what I did is I created a share link, and you'll see like this link on the top is a demo. And I'm going to go ahead and play this demo just to kind of warm you up to what's going on with AI in the most recent release. And then, like I said, when I give you this deck, you'll have the links to all this so you can deliver this message yourselves in your own organizations. I think I got everybody in the room. Let me go ahead and play this video for us. And it's only a minute long, but it'll give you an idea of some of the work that's happening. And I think it's a really good summary of everything in one spot. So you'll see I have 2 items in here. I'm going to give you the deck, and then you're going to get the video too. And what I could do is I can paste this link in here so you don't have to wait for me to post the video. I'm going to paste this in the chat right now. All right. You guys hear that? Okay?
Now Assist is ServiceNow's generative AI.
You can hear it?
Yep.
Okay, great.
experience tailored to meet the needs of our customers and users. Now Assist is ServiceNow's generative AI experience tailored to meet the needs of our customers and users. Now Assist is incorporated into ServiceNow, the intelligent platform for end-to-end digital transformation, accelerating productivity, increasing agility, and transforming experiences. It makes developers and admins more efficient, improving time to value. And it makes customers, agents, and employees more productive with personalized, efficient experiences. And it enables everybody to deliver value on the platform through no-code experiences using natural human language. Now let's show you what that all actually means. It means customers can self-serve and utilize AI right in the moment when it's best for them. Now Assist generates a more personalized result with an intelligent understanding of their problems, giving relevant answers and improved recommendations. Knowledge is synthesized for faster support, and Now Assist powers agents with greater effectiveness by summarizing interactions, generating articles, and recommending solutions. And generative AI helps developers build custom apps faster with little coding experience, meaning people with any level of expertise can write a command that Now Assist instantly translates into usable code. All with easy ways to integrate any external application, data source, or document using the right automation technology for the right task. With Now Assist on the ServiceNow platform, businesses have a powerful, unmatched experience for saying yes to the world of work.
All right, so that's one video that you'll have in your content. It's about a minute and a half long, so it's a good one to share if people are asking you questions.
Now Assist is ServiceNow's
So that's the first link that's going to be in here. The next thing, if you need to talk through it instead of going through and giving somebody the video, this is a good deck. I've been using this deck to talk through it, but it's instead of going through, I usually take a few slides out because there's a lot of slides in here. But I'll give you the whole deck and you could determine what's useful for your conversations. So if you go to the Generative AI First Call deck, it will take you through, and I'll show you some of the ones that I speak to. And on the platform, it gives you a good idea just for people who haven't been on the platform before. So the main things that I point out here are we support the customers. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We know some of you use other platforms for serving customers, and the same with employees. The technology workflows is where almost everybody on this call has some footprint, and then the creator workflows are anything you build custom. So as we go through here, like I said, this is more of a marketing slide, so you can decide whether you want to use this or not, but it's a way that you can go ahead and explain the platform in general, and then where a lot of the AI sits on the right-hand side. The other one I like to use a lot is this one, because what this talks about is, ServiceNow runs one app in their data centers, the ServiceNow platform, but we do buy other technologies. And throughout the years, we purchased a lot of different AI technologies that do things from machine learning to natural language understanding. And then what you'll see is once that acquisition happens, you don't see that for a while because it shows up in the platform a year and a half, 2 years later, once we re-platform the technology. So we don't spin up a bunch of different platforms in our data centers. We incorporate it into the platform and then make those AI features available through the different features on the platform. So a lot of these things that you're using in like the NLU piece, you might not even see that. And people don't realize that the beauty of AI a lot of times when you're using AI is that you don't see it. You don't know you're using AI. So if we're doing things like NLU because we're translating in a chatbot, we're acting like a human in a chatbot by talking real English back to the people. And it's the same thing if you're looking at some of the information, even back all the way to the beginning when we were training models, right? So this is the one where you can take a bunch of cases or incidents, whatever tasks they are, you dump them into a model and it will build these routing algorithms for you so that it can tell you how to get there. So what it could do is basically do the routing of the ticket in a smart way based on a confidence level from past routing of tickets. And so there's all these other pieces in there that are, that are AI, that are under the covers in ServiceNow, and some of you may be using it. So sometimes if you're communicating this and people are really pressing you, because a lot of the platform owners and architects are getting hit, hey, when are we going to get AI? When are we going to get AI? So a lot of it might just be in the communication, like you're already using AI. You're using AI search, right, inside of the portal. So a lot of this might just be awareness. If you're getting pressure and getting asked to use it, it might just be showing people where you're using it and making it clear to them that, there is AI underneath all this stuff. Here it's going to go through and give you some information about where the AI technologies are being used, and then some of the outcomes that we expect from that technology usage. So again, you're going to pick a few of these that you're comfortable with if you have to communicate this internally yourselves. So the three things we have in common when we apply the generative AI to certain use cases is we're looking to improve the experience, we're looking to make people more productive, and then also more responsive as things are changing, being able to respond quicker to that change. So that's the real big driver behind all the generative AI that we're putting into the product today. Pull this up. I want to get back to you. So what we'll do here is I like the part here where we give the case summarization. So how does a developer use it? How does an admin? How does a customer, agent, employee, all the way through, tying back to that top platform slide, all those workflows across the top. This is telling you how they use that different AI to go ahead and contribute. Okay, so here what it's going to do, and you can go a little slower here than the video. The video goes 1.5 minutes, so it's pretty quick. So I found people pausing it a lot. But what you can do is go through step by step here, and then say in Vancouver, what you can do with a case is with the plugin for AI, what you can do is you can get certain information in your activity stream. So you can have recommended actions where we're summarizing that. So there's different pieces that'll come up. And this is a good reason to move to Agent Workspace if you haven't done so already, because these were a lot of the features will be integrated. Okay, so that's more on for those of you using customer service management, that's a big piece of where that'll come in. I haven't seen it too, I don't think it has it in here, but I even see where you can generate the closure notes. So when you close the ticket, you can use the AI statement to close the ticket. You probably got to read through it, make sure it's not too crazy, but you can go ahead and do that. Okay, the conversational part here. So this is more of the customer interaction. So a lot of what we're doing here, if you used Virtual Agent before, you didn't really have a response that was more of a human response. What it did is it said, here's a catalog item that might help you. Here's a knowledge article that might help you. Now, what it does when you have Now Assist, it's going to go ahead and generate a response that's more human-like, so that we're not just spitting out a bunch of search results. So it's kind of like summarizing the search engine results, if you would, on Google or Bing, like they're doing with the generative AI. This is the same thing we're doing here as they're searching for things through the virtual agent. Now, this one is popping up, a virtual agent on another non-ServiceNow page. So this is using something called the Messenger, notification messenger. It's basically a wrapper for the chatbot that lets it run in those different pages. So people might ask you like, hey, I only saw our chatbot on our ServiceNow portal. Well, that's another feature that would be there that you can actually put it on other pages. We have a couple of good examples of that too. I work in state and local government, and I've seen a couple of the different government organizations now that have on some of their district pages, they'll have a little virtual agent icon in the lower right-hand corner. And then Disney Plus uses it as well, that notification messenger, which is the wrapper for the virtual agent. Right. On the content creation front, we've heard of people writing knowledge articles, at least getting their knowledge articles started. There was a story the other day about somebody wrote 100 knowledge articles. I don't think I could say who it is, but I don't know if we're allowed to say that yet, but people are using it to create content and actually put that out on their knowledge base. So content creation is another big use case. Text to code. So if you have the plugin, there's some ways that you can put it in and we'll start generating code. I personally use this myself, so I could tell that story. I use this to generate I was looking to embed an Esri map, and Esri is a GIS company, but how do you actually put a map inside of a widget? And I was able to get some feedback on how to embed that using the Esri JavaScript libraries. So it's really good to do some of that code generation, at least to get you started. From what I understand, you guys will have to try this out, but from what I understand, it's going to recognize if you're in the server side or the client side, right? So certain libraries will make sense depending on whether you're writing client-side script or server-side script. So I'm not sure if that context is there yet, but that'll be something maybe we can talk about on another meeting. The Generative AI Controller. This is one of the things you'll be able to find on the store now, available with Vancouver. So you'll be able to connect it to the open AI sources so that you could start using it inside of your workflows. And I think there's some pretty good notes on the bottom of these slides too, so you can see the talk tracks that are underneath there. And I know you're all being pushed, and my last 3 customers I've been to have been being pushed by their customers that use the platform to tell me what you're doing for AI, right? So that's what I figured I'd arm everybody here with is, not the specific story where I'm demoing it to you, but where I'm showing it to you so that you can reuse it. You can pull it down and tell that story yourself. And that's a lot of times in the forum, what people get out of this is they get a few good slides, a few good things to talk about, to think about, and hopefully something that's relevant to a project you're working on. Okay, so those are the few things from AI that I'll give you to communicate the message. The other thing I wanted to put in, you may have seen this bits and pieces, but I wanted to put it all in one spot for you today. So the other thing is, if you go on the store, a lot of those pieces that I showed you are now available. And I think some of them are only Vancouver. So you have to be on Vancouver. So you have to get like a little dev instance, or if you're on pre-prod on Vancouver, right, you can install these there. So that main link will bring you, actually, let me go back to that. I didn't put these in that other link. These are separate links to the store. So if you go to the main one, it's just a search on generative AI in the store. So what it'll do is it'll give you everything on the one page. So this is the AI controller that was in that slide. And then a lot of the stuff that was being shown in cases will be in CSM, and then incidents for ITSM, and then HR has their own piece. So they all leverage that AI connection to bring in the features and functions into those different areas. Is there any questions on that? Has surprised anybody, or is this stuff you've been seeing a lot?
I have a question. What's the text to code? What plugin is that?
The text to code, I believe it's going to be on the Generative AI Controller, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't installed any of this myself. I think some of this I'm going to work on for next time, installing this on that central instance. But
can you click on the Now Assist for ITSM? Is that part of the platform, or is that separate subscription?
This one here?
Request app. Okay. So you got to request it.
Yep. Yeah, you got to pull it down from the store. They're not in Vancouver yet. So. Any other questions?
No, this was good. Thank you for that. I will tell you guys, I mean, this is just Edda's 2 cents on the planet. The pieces that are in the store and then the pieces that are in the releases, especially because you guys know I do a lot of SPM, it's getting confusing. And then there's standard and professional. And I went to install, like the planning workspace, but it was bringing in the goal framework, and that's not eligible. And it's like, what is going on? Somebody has to get some peace on this.
Yeah, it's a little mayhem when they try to get all these things in. And that's why I thought I'd put some of this together for you guys today. At least will contain chunks, the generative part, right? This is
Yes, that's why I'm saying we appreciate you on this. For
yeah, my
real.
pleasure. We got to sort it out too, so I figured I might be a little bit ahead of you guys. Any other questions? Any other thing I can answer? Like I said, I'm going to give you that link so you can get there right away. I'll drop that in right now, and then later when you get the deck and the video, you can go ahead and run through that again. All right, so this is the one. Yes, when I give you this link in the chat, you'll basically have the link to those two items. You'll have the deck and then the video, and you can download the deck if you want to. Put that in there. So you might need that this afternoon and not wanting to wait for me till next week. So. Okay. And we will be a little short today, but I wanted to talk about one other piece that I've been wanting to do this for a while. And one, I want to get your feedback, especially on the technical front. And two, I want to talk a little bit more about how we approach this. All right, so this is a big shift from AI. I think the AI story will come back into this at some point, because what we're talking about is now the flow of a transaction as it comes into ServiceNow. And what I've been wanting to do for a while, because there's so much that happens, if you ever turn on debug and you submit a form or you do something like that, you see just tons of information on there. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at what's actually happening and maybe make a form, make something I could submit into a table in our dev instance that triggers every single engine along the way as it's being processed. So what I'm talking about here, and I just started to rough it together, and I'm struggling a little bit with what to call these or how to call them, but when you first intake information, there's client-side things that you can do that would be executing rules. So like a UI policy in a catalog item, right? That's executing a rule that can determine that this person could submit or not submit, or we're going to show extra fields. So the UI policies and then the client scripts can do the same thing. So one of the things we're working on a lot in the government area is the eligibility determination. We want to see if somebody's eligible for getting like a housing assistance or a rental assistance that was given out, or even food assistance. So a lot of times if we want to look at that, we jump right away and we say, oh, we can do that in the workflow. We can determine eligibility. But that's a pain in the neck, right? You don't want to let somebody come all the way through into submitting this huge form, and then at the end, you tell them you're not eligible. So what you can do is, based on rules and policies up here, you can execute a rule that says that you're not eligible and stops you from submitting the rest of the form. And there's even some back and forth where the logic inside of AJAX calls, so you can call back to the server and you can look for a bunch of things. And in that AJAX call, you can execute logic in there as well. So in a sense, that's a rules engine. And that's really what I'm looking at here is where are all the rules engines that can affect the path of a transaction. Now, when you get to the database, this is crazy. I never knew so many things were happening along the way. And each of these are executing rules that are coming through. So there's, from the data policy, the escalation engine to normalizing the fields so that you're basically changing the data in the field as you do through normalization. And then all the way at the end, right, we're looking at the workflow engine. I got that in there twice because I just put this together. But all the way at the end, you're looking at the workflow engine and then the business rules. So these things are executing in this order, but a lot of times when we're building, I think we're just thinking here. Everybody's jumping to here right away. And when does it make sense to use these other things that happen downstream of the workflow before the workflow starts? So I was looking to do is put a presentation together, and some of the master architects that might be on might have seen this and be very familiar with it and know that along the way that certain things get used and certain things don't, but I want to make it really clear on how these things happen and how they're useful along the way. And once you get into the other side, I'm even debating a little bit on, are these executing rules? Playbooks and guided decisions are something that the agents now have available, and it's instructing them on what to do. So it's sort of a rule, but it sort of isn't. So I'm kind of wondering, like right now, if I were to do a presentation on this, and you guys are all looking at it for the first time, A, would it be useful to understand this? And then B, what would you think of this as? Like I went back and forth between rules engines and transaction processing and end-to-end transaction flow, or
Can only make sense if you have the use case aligned to it. The use case is aligned to each demonstration. What use case are you trying to solve?
I think what I'm trying to, it's an awareness thing here. So I could apply use cases to that, right? It's more of an awareness to, if you're building an eligibility case, like I just did one for a state where they were determining if somebody is eligible for in-house home care for an elderly person. And if they're eligible, they were determining like who were the closest providers to them. So along the way, you'd kick a lot of things off here, but I want to just say in general, like what type of rules are available to you, and then where should you define them?
Use case,
John,
and then you follow
right,
the demo.
Right. I was thinking the same thing, Lou. So John, it just so happens I understand that use case end to end. So wouldn't you start, so the use case would really be built into the playbook, and then within the playbook would be your intake form, your database, and all the rest of it, because you want whoever is asking the questions to be able to follow the playbook. Otherwise, why have it?
Well, yeah, in the beginning too, there's a lot of things that happen, like we had power of attorney in the middle of it and all that other stuff. But the playbook at the end is when the agent starts, when it's submitted, right?
Right. But the power of attorney and all those advanced directives from the financial and health side are already, or should be already, within their file before you even determine the services that you're going to provide at home. Right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
It should be. And if it's not, you got to go do that first. So maybe part of that use case is that foundational information, because it doesn't do any good to start down the start down the path to decide, what you can do at home if those base pieces aren't in play, because then you're just juggling things along the way.
Right. And that's where I would determine that up here instead of waiting until they submit the form and it gets back here.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that when you go in, if that information is not there, you would, give them the message. I first need your, healthcare directive. Whether or not you need the financial directive is another thing too. And another piece of this is, by the way, on this particular use case, because it's healthcare, if they're using Epic, there's a lot of things in Epic on advanced directives that can be filled out from the member side. And you can go ahead and do that. And if you want, reach out to me and I'll pull you through that. But like
yeah, we finished that one already. So we moved on from that one, but I wanted to, in general, just use this as an education. So that use case, I think, could be a good one, because I did a few integrations there. I did an Esri integration to look up nearby providers and then those advanced directive lookups and things like that. And then also who's the caseworker in that area, because they were external caseworkers.
No, that is a really good one, because if you haven't gone through this yet with your parents, we will eventually at some point go through it with ourselves. So this is one that people can relate to.
Yeah. What other use cases would be good here if I did do this? So I'm thinking, like, as I come in, for some cases, there'd probably be, I like this one a lot, because a lot of people wait till they get to the workflow to start assigning things. And a lot of people forget about these assignment rules that are in there too. Or the data policy engine to hide PII data, right? Like all these things happen along the way. Can you guys think of any other good use cases to determine that? I know the one that we do sometimes is equipment loaner program. That one's interesting because yeah, the check-in, check-out might hit some of these, and then depending on the type of equipment, it might go to a different spot.
Doesn't ham cover that already? You're just augmenting what ham provides out of the box.
It does have the equipment checkout, but I don't know if it has, I don't know where it's executing things along the way. So I'm trying to see things. Maybe it is just eligibility that I do there. Maybe that's the big use case for all these different layers of rules is that area. Trying to think of other things though that are outside of healthcare, outside government.
Are you
So on that
talking for
equipment-
IT? Sorry, Heather, go ahead.
No. I was going to say on that equipment loaner program, would that also be inclusive in HR? Because as you're onboarding new employees,
Yeah. Equipment loaner. So I could do, yeah, I can do HR with all the different departments because here it'd be pretty obvious because those would be separate request items and those would probably go directly to the people, but it might be HR specific to a department. And you can say, look, if they're in this department, then it's a different fulfillment path. So the assignment rules might help out there.
right? Because a developer may get a different package than someone in marketing.
Yep. And what
You
about?
were going to say something?
Well, I mean, I think there's all kinds of use cases to leverage these capabilities based on some of the shortfalls of some of the other products that are in ServiceNow. Just the software asset management and the APM technical reference model and keeping that stuff all up to date and sync with the out of the box capabilities, they don't quite. The team, I'm sure, is working on improvements all the time, but until those improvements, hit Main Street, there might be opportunities to leverage some of this to improve the efficiencies of managing, software asset management, hardware asset management in relationship to ITSM, and specifically the interaction with Employee Center, where users through virtual agent ask for certain things. And then the system's smart enough to understand what they have assigned to them and what to recommend and all of that. Because everything that happens on the front end then ends up having to touch a record or update a record or do something with a record on the back end.
And I'm thinking about a use case that we had, and I said we should script that. And we're looking at your SAM data. And then you said, yeah, go ahead and do it, but I forget what it was. But I think it might have been looking up the discovery models for certain things.
Well, depending on how much is in your CDB, if you're talking about tens of millions of CIs and you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of products and you're using the content library management system, there are a lot of pieces and parts to put together, all stemming from the product, right? You're always about the digital product. That's the basic building block. And in the case of SAM, the product associates to the software model, the model software associates to the discovery model that has the installed instance. Then you have the life cycle, all of that.
That's what I could take a shot at here then. Like what I'm thinking is I'm going to do like a timeline and working towards like presenting this in this group, right? That's what I'm looking to do eventually. And then on the timeline, we can say here that we have, hey, there's catalog UI policies here. There's catalog client scripts here. There's an approval engine here. There's the work, like all laying these on a timeline. So you see each one executes a set of rules. And then maybe giving like 5 different use cases and say, hey, this use case 1 hit this one, that one, and this one, right? So this way people can understand when you would use certain types of rules along the way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that could communicate this well. So selfishly, I'm trying to understand every one of these better as well. So this will help me, but I think I can also for some of those more complex use cases, like eligibility engines, I think a lot of this will come into play as we go through it.
Hey, John, can I tie one more piece back to that?
Yeah, definitely.
Even above that, it's almost back to, because we just did the value streams a couple of weeks ago. If you went from value stream to value stage, and then how the business capabilities map back up to the value stages, then when you start to do the business processes, then each of the business processes would then align to each of the pieces that you're talking about here. Because then you have the whole flow from truly top to bottom and end to end.
Yeah, because these are kind of capabilities along the way to assign things. Or to,
Yeah, and they're within the
things.
products. So they're embedded within the products as you go along the way, and you're going from value stream to value stage, and then how the business capabilities map back. That was what I was trying to get to last week, because we still got a bit of a gap there, and we've got to get that sewed up. Otherwise, we're going to assume that you go from value stream to ServiceNow doesn't call it value stage. What did they call it? Something in there. And then we went straight to business process. We're missing that backward compatibility from business capability back to the value streams. Yeah, we'll get there, but this will also help tie everything in, because like I said, then you can see from top to bottom all the way down. That way, when a new idea comes in or a new use case scenario comes in, you can immediately map it. You're like, okay, do we have this business capability already? If we do, what business application is it? And then what engines do we use for that application and those capabilities?
Yeah. And I did do some preliminary ones. Like you can still manually link those capabilities. Some of that work I did here, where you can stop the annotation. You can take and go like this, where, and I'll get off this real quick. I know we're diverting a little bit, right? But on here, if I have, so here's the value stream processes, which are basically the value stream stages, right?
Yep.
And then what you can do here is you can have the value stream stage, which is a business process, which I'm not crazy about. But so this business process request asset AA is the stage one. And then here, what you can do is you can link capabilities to that, just like you can link other processes.
Right. And I think that's about as good as it gets right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering what to use, because like in TOGAF, right, they use enables.
Yeah.
So that capability enables that stage. And usually there's multiple capabilities enabling one stage. But the closest I can get with what's out of the box is the use by.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. All right. So on this, I like the value stream stage. The other thing I'm thinking about as we go across is like, where does AI come in here? So is AI able to do anything to automate this flow as we go through from intake to, I think it's helping the agent, but it's not really executing rules or anything like that. It's executing a large language model. Right, but is that actually doing something? And then also the machine learning piece comes in too. Like machine learning can definitely assign things, right? So AI comes into this process as it comes through. It can touch it all along the ways. So large language models, machine learning. I don't know if NLU would do any of the field normalization, but it gets really complicated as you look at where I can potentially use these new technologies in this processing path. All right, that helps me out work things. So I like the use case idea, because if I'm just talking about all these and what they do individually, it's just theoretical. But so until we apply something real to it and find those use cases, it's not going to make a lot of sense. All right. I think that's all I had for today. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, does anybody have anything that they want to bring up for other topics? Because we're struggling right now to get things out that are relevant for other topics. A bunch of people keep saying AI. We might have one on AI guardrails has been one suggestion. Like, how do I make sure that all this stuff I'm doing isn't putting my data out to the public space? There's some good videos on that where a couple people talked about what they did with the guardrails and how they used them in ServiceNow. But there's a lot of curiosity there as well. Anybody else have any other topics?
I do. I mean, but
sorry, go ahead.
There
Me and
we go,
Etta
Lou.
are the jumping in there.
We're thinking at the same time, Lou, right?
You go, Etta. It's fine.
So one of the things that we've done over the weeks and months, we have a specific topic, and they're amazing topics. I think it's time that, just like in that slide that you had for the government, that we start putting together some of these use cases. And maybe, okay, so the summary in the beginning of the meeting is, here's a summary of the things we discussed. Now let's see what it looks like in ServiceNow. Because we've talked about a lot of components, but we've yet to tie them all together, and they absolutely tie together. So, and I think it's in those examples of understanding that we're able to say, oh, okay, that's where I'm going to use that. And you can actually use one of the examples could be your home health one. That's actually a pretty good one.
Okay.
Here are the pieces of it.
So you're saying more like use cases mixed with demos in real world?
In real world, because what we're getting theory and borderline on here's how it would go, but unless you understand the business side of that, there would be no way to put it end to end together. And a lot of people are in different departments. They understand one piece of it. Okay, that's fine. But how does it truly flow end to end?
Yep.
Especially like I said, back to your home health example, from a home health perspective, like how did we even get there? Mm-hmm. Person's in the hospital, blah, 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 blah. They get home health for 3 days a week, blah, 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 blah,
What would be an SPM use case that would be practical?
To be honest, how about the upgrade of ServiceNow?
Okay.
ServiceNow upgrade could be a SPM use case, right? It's got to come in as an idea.
Yeah.
You have to decide, bring it through. Does the business want to do it? Of course they do. And they may not want to do that upgrade. They may want to skip. A lot of people, I know a lot of companies that do not do the upgrade every release. They do every other. And so if it is that time to get approved, then it would go into demand. You would take a look at, create the resource plans for the effort on it, determine if you need any additional licensing. So there's the additional cost plans so that you can get the cost, go get your funding, create the project, lay in your template, finish building it out. Basically, that's a really good use case, and everybody understands that. And the nice thing about this one, there's also documentation that's associated with each of those steps up in Now Create. And then, so after, execution, including your Agile stuff. So you've got that integration of Agile into projects. So your stories are going to go into the Agile piece, which will integrate up into the project, and your project tasks are going to stay in the project task. And then when it's time to go to production, this is, maybe people know this or not, there's actually a way to raise your change control within the project. So then you go get your change approved and, your window, and you're off and going on.
Got it. You just gave me another idea that we can do too. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, this is the one that I'm working on right now. I think it's pretty close to being ready, where we can do, like here we talk about, you offer a shared service, and then somebody requests the shared service, and then you pass it over to the factory to get built, and then they're able to provide that shared service back. So it's kind of the interaction across portfolios. But at the end, it should create, like they're asking for pay citation, and then IT says, hey, I have this constituent request that'll get you 80% of the way there. Pass it to the build team. They get you the other 20% of the way there. And now you have a new business service or service offering in the constituent service area called pay citation. So there's a path there where we go from the catalog request, and then we turn that, if that's approved, we turn it into the demand. And then that demand gets processed through either an agile or waterfall, and then gets put back into a new catalog item where the CSDM is created for this as well, where you have pay citation. So that could be another kind of path along the way with a shared service example.
Mm-hmm.
We have that too, where like ITSM, some of my customers have their own ITSM on their own instance, but then they have like 20 clients using ITSM, 20 different teams that are using it, right? That are kind of consumers of the ITSM services. They're just not as explicit as this is. It just happens, right? That they drop them in, but they don't really say, hey, this is ITSM for department X. They don't really call it out as a specific thing.
John, this is Tina. I have two asks. One of them might not be this forum, but one thing that I think that would be helpful is for the CSDM model to see ServiceNow as an application drawn out in that. So make it a use case. How would you implement ServiceNow using the CSDM model? So, because I've seen like the capabilities, I've seen those done as application services. I've seen them done as products. What's the recommended direction? And if you take ServiceNow in its capabilities and show how that looks in the CSDM model, it's a really good concrete example that everybody can relate to.
I like that one.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I
Tina,
like that.
yes. Like, is it platform host? Is ServiceNow the platform host? And then the individual applications and modules, business applications against the platform host. So, right. Yes. And then how does it flow from there?
And
this one's interesting because it's going to be different for everybody.
But it shouldn't be. Sorry, I said that.
It absolutely should be. Yeah.
Not for ServiceNow. I mean,
I don't think it should be for ServiceNow.
It shouldn't be for ServiceNow.
A recommended approach.
No, it should be. It's going to be different because, like, there's some teams, right, where you'll have the ServiceNow, you'll have the offerings, and let's say you offer like constituent case, like I just had. So constituent case depends on the ServiceNow application service, but if they're not going to the ServiceNow team, they're going to the CSM team. Then you have a different application service called CSM, right? So you have to model your support trail in order to build those groups out. So that's why it's going to be different with everybody.
There may be more than one example, but it would really help, especially if you're early in your journey. Because then it becomes more like a light bulb. Oh, that's the best way to do this.
Yeah. So this way you can see the moving parts. So I think that's a really good one.
No, you could. But if let's just take ServiceNow. Somewhere around ServiceNow, there should be a business capability map for the entire organization, not one, not many, one. So within that business capability map that then maps back to the value streams, by the time we get down to the CSDM service related, it would be within the business capabilities of customer service if it was some other one. But when we say implementing ServiceNow using the CSDM model, I would want to start at the highest level on what is the business capability map for ServiceNow. And we have that in a deck. There is a deck. It's like 600 slides, but it's at least there. So this would really be the end-to-end mapping of ServiceNow, which, if you think about it, should in theory exist because you guys have been building products forever.
Yeah, and we've had a couple people actually do this in these meetings, but we probably need to rerun it. So if you go back and you look at common service data model trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
They modeled that out a few times. And Mark did it once too, where he talked about the differences in, hey, if you have a support group split up like this, then your application services change and the nesting of those services changes. So it's mostly at that application service layer that the model changes.
Right.
And my second ask may not be a forum specific thing, but it
And you
would
were
be
trying to get the business capabilities together that then when you go in and take a look at your business applications and you do the association of business application to business capability, it would be amazing to see what that looks like with ServiceNow. And it should be one model.
Yeah.
Right? Pina, is that kind of what you were referring to?
that's what I was thinking, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else on that one? I know I'm just like.
Absolutely. I'm having the same challenge. We're trying to map this out because we're fighting about product ownership and process owners and all that stuff. And not having this diagrammed out is making the big challenge. So.
Yeah, it's a big one, John, because I have to tell you, so I've done a lot of APMs and I'm not real, in a nice way, of course, I'm not real flexible in allowing the customer to go off the guardrails, because I know once we get it implemented where we can get in the business capabilities, and if they don't have a business capability map, we'll start with the Business Architecture Guild. I'll make sure they have a membership so that we can, legally use it, and we use it as a base. And then we go in, because I like how they have the 3 tiers, support, core, and the strategic. And we'll start there, get that in, load in all the business applications and start the mapping, even if it's at level 1. I don't need to go down to 2 and 3. I just need to start someplace and then get them happy and say, okay, let's test this model out. Then I test out.
Oh, you still there?
We can shake it, then we're good.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, John, my second ask isn't necessarily a forum topic, but there's an overwhelming amount of stuff that comes out in the store now, which is a good thing, but it would be great to get like a high level view of this is what's in the August release across everything. Because there is no single source to go to that right now. And it's really hard to keep up. I would love to have an index of what's coming out in the August release, for example, and the November release, and be able to see that kind of a roadmap. So
maybe get some. I'd like to know that myself. I wonder if we get somebody from the store team.
Right. And how do we tie that back to the regular releases? Because what the comment I made earlier, it's trying to install SPM in its little components now. I just, I finally got a list together. It's like, okay, we do this first. It's like, do not come outside of this list. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, it won't install right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's across capabilities, because I'm actually because I'm on the pack for SPM, I'm pretty tapped into what's going on there, but it's all the other capabilities, and even just knowing which things my stakeholders are asking for this. And so I'm asking ServiceNow for this. Show me a roadmap of what's coming at the top level, and then I can go dig into the things I want to know more about.
Are they in the release notes, the store stuff, or it's not in the release notes either? Do you know that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've asked Lynn, my account manager, for the same thing. I'd like release notes on what's coming.
Instead of having to find it in the store and then look at the little bit of release notes on the bottom of the store, right?
Yeah, they're not in the main.
And I'd like to see it overall. I don't want to have to go chase each capability, because I get this information from SPM. I go to the SPM forums, so I know what's coming in for SPM, but I don't know for all the other capabilities, and I just don't have the bandwidth to chase every single thing, every single capability, to know that and be able to present it to my stakeholders.
And is this just for the ServiceNow stuff, not even thinking about the partners?
This is just the ServiceNow stuff.
Okay.
Hey, John, and this could also flow back in her initial request that you have on 50. So if you think about it, if we go with our business capabilities, maybe the release notes has a section that summarizes the business capabilities, and here are the release notes and changes for those business capabilities. because we've already started talking about business capabilities. We should all just stay there and not come up with another naming of something to just get everybody confused.
Yep. Yeah. Business capabilities. Well, that's the fly stage, right? That's the last stage, the way that we determine it. So a lot of people are following that playbook too.
They are. And, you know, I try to get them there earlier.
Yeah.
Because you have to define the business capabilities.
Yeah. The problem with the business capabilities is a lot of people don't know what they are. So you put them in a table.
At the beginning, but
yeah. That's the problem I'm having, right? Is you have to explain what the business capabilities are before you can start using them to everybody. Then it's kind of a moot point.
Right. Well, and you know what I end up doing? I don't even introduce the business capability model. I go into what do you do? And I have them explain it from their business side, and then I map it to the business capability. Because you're right. So by the time we get down to the fly stage, it's already mapped, and they're like, oh, it maps. But yeah, if you tried to start them off in the very beginning with business capabilities, they're going to look at you all cockeyed. Go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah, it kind of worked. All right. Some of these too, the structure of this group that we're trying to keep is 5 minutes in the beginning, 5 minutes in the beginning to kind of do my little kickoff and let new people know what the group is and kind of introduce the agenda. And then we're trying to do 25 minutes of customer content, practicality, and then 25 minutes of theory, like a ServiceNow kind of, this is our demo, this is how it should be used, and then somebody actually showing it. That's the ideal structure. We haven't been able to get there with all these meetings, but I think with some of these topics, we might be able to get there. Like, how do you find somebody who thinks they have ServiceNow done really well today and have them speak about that for 25 minutes? And then come in and give some different alternatives on the model, because a lot of people just hearing how they got to the model they have is really interesting, depending on how their support organization's set up.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I appreciate that structure, John. I've kind of taken that as an invitation to be 5 minutes late.
Yeah. If you don't need to hear that intro in the beginning.
I don't hear the intro anymore. I've heard it enough times.
Yeah, I'm trying to shorten that even more. So
it's okay. It's not a bad thing because you get new people all the time, but
yeah. Yeah.
And John, on the SPM use case, I know a few people on the call. If they're getting ready, if they're planning the Vancouver upgrade, we can use them as a customer. And I can actually go through the happy path. That takes like, what, 2 minutes? And then we can apply it to their upgrade and walk through what they're planning to do so that everybody can see that.
Okay.
And I won't put them on blast, but there is a person on that I've known for a very long time. And so if they're going to do the Vancouver upgrade, I'll reach out. I'll find someone. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And we'll put a date on that once you get close. That'd be,
and we'll get that
really
in details, and we'll make sure Vancouver's out and we're past the first patch release. We all know that one, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm not taking the first release out of Vancouver.
No, nobody. I put it out there. I did.
Hey now.
So we'll go Vancouver plus 1 patch.
Got it.
But even if it's in one of your, non-pod environments, but I still wait Vancouver plus 1 patch.
Okay. Good deal. This helps a lot. So I do have to run for another call, but thanks for all the feedback today. That's really helpful. And I'll get that AI stuff over to you guys so you can start using it.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Bye.